Hello, I'm JJ Bull and I'm an analyst for Tifo Football, and in this video we're going to look at what went wrong for England in the Euro 2020 final, where they lost the game, perhaps some decisions from the manager that are easy to look at with hindsight, and how Italy managed to win that, and we're going to look at the tactical setup of the teams and really why England lost that final. That's what we're going to do. There's a really good article, there's a few good articles actually on this exact thing on The Athletic just now, and because we are part of The Athletic and we're Tifo, if you go to theathletic.com/Tifo IRL, which is this channel, /that, there's an offer on that you get, I think it's a 30-day subscription for free to trial it out. And then after that, you can get rid of it if you want. But I would keep it because I like reading it a lot. It's great. So yes, definitely do that. So there's written versions of this, but this is our version of looking at what went wrong for England and what they might regret having not done in the final that they lost. As I said, hindsight is a very useful tool in this situation, but the decision from Southgate to move to a back three, which became a back five most of the game, I think really hindered England from the start. Now, the idea was that having these wing backs here like this, Shaw and Trippier, is designed because Italy were always going to have more of the ball because they are the better team technically with the ball, but also the way Italy attack means that they become a front five when they get forwards. And that's what Italy do. It becomes a 3-2-5 in possession. Jorginho and Verratti kind of patrol this midfield area around here where I'm pointing my hand. These three at the back become essentially a diamond with Jorginho to protect the pitch that way. And Emerson, it was Spinazzola for most of the tournament, but he gets forward here in this wide area. For the very start, England scored a goal and everyone got very excited. So you think it was working, and I'll show you how that happened. Possession turns over at the corner. The ball goes out to roughly around this area here, and it goes back to Shaw. And that's how the move starts, right? Luke Shaw's on the ball. He plays it inside. Harry Kane drops deep. That's something he did the whole tournament long. Not like a false nine, really, but he drops into midfield a lot to try and get on the ball and be able to make things happen from there. Now Kane's on here. Kieran Trippier immediately pushes forward. This is the second minute of the game. They're ready to break straight away. Trippier pushes up to round about here, and Italy don't look like this, but the ball is then sprayed out wide from Harry Kane to Trippier. Then the important thing that happens is Kyle Walker, I don't think he did this to the rest of the entire match, sprints, like look how far you got to get up the pitch to get here, makes this run to get to this position. By the time he gets to this position, it means that Trippier has the ability to either pass wide or pass inside wherever he wants here because of the overlapping run. The overlapping run means the fullback isn't sure whether he goes out or stays here, and it gives him a little yard of space, which means he's able to put a cross into the box. The ball comes in, and because Shaw has continued his run, and you've got all these players who then rush in, England have something of it's like an overload really early in the game. Early in here, Sterling's up here as well. Ball goes into Shaw, and he finishes. So the wing backs work perfectly from the start, and you think Southgate has absolutely smashed this, well done. England are going to win the game, they've got the lead. The only reason he's able to get in there is because for the only time in the match, Federico Chiesa doesn't track him. He's caught wide, everyone else gets back. So by the time they've got the balls in the back of the net, most of Italy's team are back here, but Chiesa and Immobile, if you watch the replay, are kind of still up here. And Roberto Mancini goes crazy at Chiesa, doesn't do it again, tracks him every single time. England then fall back into a back five for the rest of the match and are never able to break out. And I want to look now at how they were set up to hit the counter and how they never ever used it. So the first thing about this tactical setup that Southgate had, it was a 3-4-3, which became mostly a 5-4-1 because they were pinned back. But it also looked a lot like a 5-3-2 because Sterling and Kane would stay mostly high and Mount would drop into these little areas here. See, like he'd always find space in between like Jorginho, Verratti and Senior, these sorts of areas. He's a very, very tactically aware player, Mason Mount. So he would drop into space, so he's always available. In the semi-final, England were a lot braver with the ball in possession when they were in pressure situations and they were passing out. The nerves of a final, you can kind of give them a lot of leeway for wanting to rush it. But the best teams don't rush the ball when they're in possession. And England, with a 1-0 lead, started defending it as though it was the final 5 minutes of the game and they didn't attack. So that goal they scored was their first shot of the game. It was also the only shot from open play they took for the entire match. I think they had 7 shots total for the game, 6 of them came from set plays. and that's like a header over the bar or a shot blocked from a throw-in, I think was another one. It's just mostly corners, and they didn't even have that many of them. So you kind of see that they weren't really getting attacks on there. Italy had something in crazy like 17 shots on goal, but they also had 65 roughly % of the possession. Doesn't tell you everything, but 65% versus 35 is the kind of thing you'd expect from, say, a mid-table Premier League team against a really good one. It's not really, there's a clear strategy here to try and deny them space and not allow them onto the ball. And we saw it a few times. There's a couple of examples, and this is in that article, is one of the articles in The Athletic that I'd recommend reading if you do sign up, where when they're trapped in this little areas here, say Insigne's got the ball here, and you see that it's kind of surrounded in the box. Immobile is marked essentially by about 3 defenders. So this back 3 is kind of, I don't really get it. So you don't need 3 defenders to defend against 1. If Italy played with a front 2, it makes sense. They play with a front 5, so you've got man-to-man, but it just means that England then can't really get out. Because you see the 2 up here of Sterling and Kane are pretty much boxed in by the diamond that Italy create. Total outnumber here, Mount's on his own here. If they can get the ball to him, they're going to swamp and surround him so he can't do anything. Italy just had them outnumbered in basically every part of the pitch except defensively, which just encourages more pressure because Italy can keep the ball. And the faster, like the earlier you kick it away, the faster it's coming back to you. So if Walker just pings this ball over here, guess what's going to happen? Donnarumma's going to come up, recycle the ball, and they build, and they've got this same amount of pressure up here. England can't escape. Back to this little example, which is largely fictional, but is based on a couple of examples that happens around like 32 minutes in the game. Insigne's around here, shows a bit too much of the ball, and the ball, it's a turnover, it's a very quick one, and straight away Walker or anyone really gets in the ball here. I think Rice was guilty of it a couple of times, right? So the ball comes to, say, Rice here, and instantly Italy counter press. Now you could say what England want to do here is try and get the ball away as quickly as they can to get rid, but as we know, that just means it's going to come back. And at this point, they were really under pressure. Italy weren't even playing well in the first half. But this is an example of great counter pressing from Italy. Counter pressing as in they've lost the ball and they immediately press to win it back. Not just trying to press the team in possession, but they've lost the ball and they're immediately pressing to try and win it back. That's what that means. So Verratti, Insigne, Barella, they all swarm around them to try and win the ball back as quickly as possible, and that forces the decision quickly. But rather than just looking for these neat little passes, the kind of thing that, like, we saw this in the semi-final of the World Cup against Croatia, like Modric and players like that, Rakitic, they have that extra second in the ball where they can see the teammate and they can play that sort of ball through here. Or they'll just play a little ball into Sterling, he'll drop. But Sterling and Kane stayed up here. Mount always in space to be able to get it. Instead, the ball is hoofed and it just kept coming back. As an example, in the 32nd minute, I think there's one in like the 39th, which I think is Harry Maguire takes the ball. It's about 39th minute, roughly, give or take 30 seconds if you're being really pedantic. But he takes the ball here, pushes out. It looks almost exactly the same on the pitch. Like it really does look almost exactly the same as on the pitch. And then looking for Kane with the long ball, but the ball goes up here. Chiellini or Bonucci just win the battle easily because it's an aerial duel. It's hard to win those. They're 50-50 most of the time. And the ball comes back and Italy punish them. Now, if you'd had, say, England in a 4-3-3 like they were playing for most of the tournament, straight away, you can change how the way this looks. So let's do that, and I'll set this up so it looks slightly different. So you're going to lose, Kieran Trippier's going to go off. Then you can put on, I would say, Jadon Sancho. Now straight away, you've got Rice and Phillips as your double pivot here. Stones and Maguire can easily deal with Immobile. Look at this, 2v1 in this thing here. You know it's going to be a front 5 from Italy. So Insigne's in here, Walker's dealing with Emerson, Insigne's round about here. Rice comes in to help a little bit. He was doing that a lot in other games, dropping into the back. Shaw's dealing with Chiesa, Phillips on Barella. And then you've instantly got another outball. This diamond is now no longer like just 2v4, it's suddenly got Sancho here. So when you've got this option of winning a turnover here, you can chip it and you know you've got a player here, Sancho. And he's really quick, can go in beyond you. And that's just, it makes so much sense. And also you can have Sterling going wide here, Sancho here like this, and then you've got Mount in the middle as another, that's still option. So Kane's largely taking care of these two. It pulls Chiellini out wider. And look at it, suddenly they've got this thing to deal with here. They've got all this space like in between them, rather than just defending this small area with two players congested. It's very easy to talk about this in hindsight and say this is what England should have done. And it's the difference between getting the tactical setup wrong and the application of it. But England fell deep far too early, invited pressure onto them constantly. Italy dominated the game, and had they been more proactive, possibly more aggressive, had Southgate made changes earlier, you could have played Saka here earlier, rather than bring him on, don't have him on the bench. But Saka could have come on, could have started this game. They could have played the 4-3-3, worked so well. He'd be able to track these runners like Emerson coming back here when they needed to, and still give them an option to get out and be able to break out their defensive shape. Didn't happen. Southgate was too conservative. England lost that game well before the penalty shootout. Italy dominated them with possession and the way that England sat back and sat off them. So I would say it's a real opportunity missed for England to have that opportunity of playing at Wembley in front of home fans and not then take the game a little bit to Italy, even though they're really good, even though Italy's midfield would dominate the game. You can play around them. It's an opportunity missed and a real shame for England. And for more analysis like that, in fact, you can look back through all our analysis of the Euros if you want on Tifo IRL. It's our channel here. Love it if you subscribe to that. So please do that immediately now. And also like this and leave comments to tell me how wrong I am about Gareth Southgate getting it ever so slightly, but quite a lot wrong in the final. Have a lovely time.
The Athletic is home to some of the world's best sports journalists, including David Ornstein, Daniel Taylor, Ollie Kay, Amy Lawrence and Rafa Honigstein. There are journalists dedicated to each Premier League team, so every fan gets the coverage they deserve, not just the big clubs. And you can try it for free now for 30 days. See the link in the description.